360 Sports Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the 360 Sports Podcast Show with your hosts, Mario Mays and Adrian Pinland. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button and share. Now, enjoy the show.
Welcome to the 360 Sports Podcast, where we'll be talking all things sports related, the past, the current, and things to come. And tonight we have a Georgia high school coach and legend. Coach Seth Vining is here with myself and Adrian Pinland. Coach, welcome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you, Mario. Good to see y'all.
Coach, how you doing, man? Hope all is well with you and your family.
Everything is well.
Yes, sir.
Well, Coach, we're going to just jump right into it. 39 seasons, 745 wins, 4 state titles. That's a load of work. That is a load of work. I had the pleasure to work with you for, I think, 5 of those seasons. Had a great time. I learned a whole lot. But I guess the first thing that I never got a chance to ask you is, how did you get started coaching?
Well, actually, I was a high school athlete. I enjoyed sports. Basically, I got started in basketball because I was hired at East Hall High School to be a baseball and football coach. And the second year I was there, the girls' basketball job became open. And they were looking for a coach and offered me the opportunity. So I started coaching my second year out of college. And then I stayed with basketball pretty much ever since.
Coach, where's some other schools that you coached at besides East Hall? Like, where did you first get started coaching at?
Well, I started at East Hall as a girls coach.
Okay.
Then I went to Gainesville College as a girls coach. Then I went to Johnson High School as a boys coach, and then coached the girls 3 years at Johnson, and back to East Hall for, 14 more years. Then went to Lakeview Academy. Then I retired, stayed retired for 6 years, and then went back to East Hall for a short time last year.
So, Coach, you've had the pleasure of winning the state title on the boys' side of things and on the girls' side of things. If you had a preference, I'll just say this, which one was easier to coach? Would you say guys or girls?
I think in a lot of ways girls are easier to coach because they don't second guess what's going on so much. They will do whatever they want them to do. Boys, on the other hand, I think once they buy into what you're trying to do, are a lot of fun. Plus, they can play so much higher above the rim. You can do so many more things with guys. I enjoyed both of them. I wouldn't trade one for the other. I had a great time coaching both.
Coach, what made you start coaching girls basketball? Like, who gave you that opportunity to coach girls basketball?
Well, that was at East Hall. I was coaching baseball and football, and the girls' job became open, and they offered me the opportunity to coach girls, and that's how I got into girls. And I had a lot of success there. It was a nice story. The first year we won 4 games, and then in 4 years we won a state championship. Had a great group of girls that just really worked hard. They weren't very good basketball players, but they became great basketball players. We had a good team that understood what we had to do to win. And based on that, we were very fortunate. We never won a region championship. Matter of fact, we beat Etowah in the state finals, and they had beaten us in the region. And that was back when our regions were so large back then. I mean, we had probably 20-something schools in our region, and you didn't even play the other half of the region in the regular season because you had so many teams in your sub-region. And the top 2 teams met. You had to win 1 game to go to state, and it was tough. And the region that we were in, you're talking about Etowah, White County, Cartersville, North Gwinnett, East Hall. It was a very competitive region. Our state champions came out there, or state runner-up came out there probably 4 or 5 years in a row. It was a tough region, but we were very fortunate, and I was very blessed to coach some very talented girls, and also some girls that were great teammates and knew how to win.
Who were some of the players on that girls' state championship team that you had?
Well, we had the first year we had 3 seniors: Angela Middleton, Angela Shirley, and Teresa Huback. Then we had some juniors that were all talented: Sylvia Akers, Donna Laddie, Linda Earls, and then we had a freshman named Brenda Hill that became a pretty good player too.
Pretty good.
So that was a nucleus for some pretty good basketball.
And Coach, I heard that you said you coached at Gainesville College, right?
I did.
Who did you coach, the boys or the girls?
I coached the girls.
Okay. How was them teams that you coached over there at Gainesville College?
You know, we were okay. We battled for, say, about 3rd or 4th place in the Georgia League. Back then, Truett McConnell was probably one of the best teams in the area. That was when Truett McConnell won the national championship during that time. Emmanuel was very good. Mike Bone is still coaching up there. He was a coach there. It was a good league. You know, Kobe Tilley was coach at Truett. We were like a break even, but we got better every year. And then the school had a change in the president, and the new president didn't really see athletics as a key part of junior college life. And based on his approach towards athletics, that's when I decided to go to Johnson High School and coach the boys over there. And when I left to go to Johnson, that's when the president decided to shut down athletics totally. And so the last year I was at Gainesville College was the last year that they had basketball.
So, Coach, when you went from coaching girls in the high school side to coaching girls on the college side, what was the biggest difference?
Biggest difference was recruiting, particularly at a junior college, because at a junior college, you basically are going to have to recruit your team every year, because you're going to lose half your team because it's a 2-year school. So that was the biggest difference. Other than that, I think the style of play was pretty much very similar. I don't think that, as far as basketball wise, there wasn't a whole lot of difference. But the fact that you got to recruit your players, and of course, the key is in pretty much all college athletics, recruiting is the key. I mean, if you can recruit the players, most of the time, most of the coaches are good enough to where they can get something out of them. So the key is who you got playing for you.
Hey, Coach. So I know you coached at East Hall for a long period of time on the guys' side. When did you know, like, you had something at East Hall? Like, when did you know, like, man, I got a group of kids and they're going to be coming in here for a very long time? Like, what year did you know, like, I got something out here at East Hall?
Well, the one thing about East Hall, I feel like as long as I've been in Gainesville, which was since '74, I always felt like East Hall had enough athletes where if you went there and did a pretty good job, you would have a chance to compete at a very high level. For whatever reason, East Hall never really got to the championship game until, I guess, the 90s. But they had teams that were always very good and always ranked in the top of the state, but never could hardly get over that hump of getting past the semifinal game to get to the championship game. So we always knew we had pretty good teams, and even my first couple of years there, we didn't do much, but we still had a good enough team to beat Gainesville, and that was the years I think Gainesville was in the Final Four 2 years in a row. So we were always competitive. It probably wasn't until the mid-'90s that I think we put together a run of several Final Fours. Met that we got beat by the state champion 4 straight years, and each one of those games we were ahead in the second half, and but the other team basically had a player that was a dominant player, or maybe several dominant players. And we lost to Dodge County, lost to Washington County, lost to Cedar Grove, and who was the other team? Anyway, we lost 4 years to the state champion, and we got to the Final Four twice. And that was kind of, that string was when we kind of changed our philosophy a little bit and went to our up-tempo style, pressing full court, trying to create a little bit different tempo than we'd played with previously, trying to force other teams to play at that tempo, partly to try to force them to go to their bench. We wanted to make sure we had a strong bench, and we did. That's what gave us the opportunity to play that way. We developed usually 10 to 12 guys that could play really well. And from that point on, we developed that style and kept playing that style. And then we had a lot of success from then on. I think we were state champions a couple of times, runner-up 2 or 3 times. And, of course, when I left, Coach Dix took him and won the state again. And then he went to the state finals several years later. So East Hall has always been a school where I always felt like the opportunity was there to be successful.
Yeah. Coaching at East Hall and the great run you guys had, if you had to have a top 5 players, I wouldn't even ask you who's the top one, because I know people would debate with that for days. But give me your top 5 players, Coach, in the run you had at East Hall.
I don't know if I can give him the top 5.
Okay, give me the top 10.
I can name some good ones. Now, you want boys and girls or just boys?
Let's start with boys.
I think you have to. If you just look at our career scores, of course, Chesley Watson would be up there, Mark Cousins would be up there, Javon Randolph would be up there, Antoine Welcher would be up there, Frank Davis would be up there, Brody Langston would be in that mix. Javon Banks, who I coached earlier, was a very talented player. And I'm probably some of our guards were extremely good, even they weren't quite that, I guess, known for being great players, but they developed the style of play we had. So we had a lot of good players. I was very blessed. Walter Hill we had to put Walter in that bunch. It makes you a pretty good coach when you have that opportunity.
Right.
Coach, two things. Because I asked Coach Dix the same question that Mario just asked you. I said, give me the top 5 best players who ever played at East Hall. In his top 5, he said Frank Davis. He said Antoine, Chesley. I might be getting this wrong. Walter Hill. And I cannot think of the 5th person. But anyway, so he gave me them guys. But I always wanted to ask you this, Coach, because I don't know, it's just been like on my mind for years. Why did you leave that year when you left it off to Coach Dix? Because you could have came back and easily won a state title. Yeah. And you just left and just gave like Coach Dix a state title team. Well, why did you do that?
Well, first off, understand that Joe had a lot to do with what we'd already done. He'd been there 8 years with me. He was a great right-hand man and did a lot to make us successful. I was looking for a new challenge. That was part of it. Part of it was I felt like Coach Dix would have the opportunity to take over the team, which I wanted him to have that opportunity. And it just so happened the Lakeview job was open. If the Lakeview job had not been open, I wouldn't have left. I would have stayed. But because the Lakeview job was open, and that was a new challenge for me, and it was close enough to where I wouldn't have to move, Coaching is one of those things. You kind of have to go when the job is open. You can't just pick your time that you want to leave and go someplace else, particularly if somebody else is there already and they're doing a good job. So when the Lakeview job came open and I was looking kind of for a new challenge, and I knew Coach Dix would possibly get the job, all those things kind of fell in place. So that was when I decided to leave. That's why I left. If the Lakeview job hadn't been open, I wouldn't have left. But the timing of all that, it just worked. That was the time to leave.
Let me ask you this: was at any point, like during the season or after the season, you was like, "Man, I should have just stayed one more year and won one more state title"?
I'll answer that one for you. I'll answer that one. Coach,
I want to hear.
Hold on. Let's do this. Coach, when you first got to Lakeview, just give Adrian and it wasn't, a bad thing, but coming from where you were, winning and rolling and having just a loaded, team year in, year out, give Adrian, kind of help him understand when you came into the Lakeview situation, that changed.
I tell you this, Adrian, this is the way it was. First off, I was very fortunate that Mario was there because I was trying to teach our style and what I wanted to do, and Mario was learning at the same time. So I was the only person that had a real good understanding of what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. The team I left at East Hall, we were averaging 92 points a game, and all of them were coming back. All of them are coming back. 92 points. All of them coming back. The team I inherited at Lakeview, we had 5 points coming back. So it was a struggle for a lot of reasons. And I can remember calling my wife from Tennessee Tech, and I can remember telling her, I was sitting up in the bleachers, and I said, I'm going to have to go tell Mr. Singleton I think I made a mistake. And she said, you can't do that. And of course I didn't. But it was a challenge. But I'm real glad that I had the opportunity. I'm glad Mario was there with us. We did some great things at Lakeview, even though we didn't win a state championship. The fact that we were getting beat by Jefferson by about 40 points, maybe that first year. And the year that Jefferson left the region, we beat them 3 times and won the region championships.
Yeah.
And Jefferson had the same coach, Coach Dubose, does a great job. They had still good teams. But the fact that we had gone from where we were to where we ended up, and then when Coach Cottrell came on board when I retired, he took it to another level, getting to the Final Four and even the championship game. So what we did at Lakeview was pretty special, even though we didn't win a state championship. The fact that we were able to compete against the county schools and be successful, it was a great challenge. It really was. Didn't win a state championship, but the years at Lakeview were very good years. It's a great school also. I've been very blessed to coach at 3 very, very good schools, and I think I benefited from all 3 experiences.
So, Coach, in 39 years of coaching, who was your biggest rival? When you look back at it, you say to yourself, this is a game. I'm gonna automatically be up and prepared for this game. What? And I know it probably is not one team, but if it's 1 or 2 teams, who would you say it was?
Well, I think the rival that East Hall and Gainesville had during the time that I was coaching the boys was maybe as good of rivalry as there is anywhere, any place. Mm-hmm. And the people that had a chance to be a part of that, when I'm talking about our players and our coaches, they don't have any idea what a special moment that was to play in that kind of atmosphere. Mm-hmm. It was just unbelievable, because Gainesville was very good, and actually Gainesville dominated there early, and then we kind of caught up with them and were able to kind of dominate at the end. But going back and forth, year after year after year, we just had some great battles, and the atmosphere was second to none, and that was probably the one rival that really stands out more than the others.
Coach, where do you see Hall County basketball at as of right now? Because I know, because I'm around there all the time, and I see that the skill level is, I'm not going to say it's dropping off, but, I can see like other kids want to play football or baseball or, you just want to try something else. Where do you see Hall County basketball at right now?
I think the last few years we've been down just a little bit, but when I say that, I also understand Gainesville's been very good. The last, Benji was in the state championship game. Gainesville was what, 3 years ago? They were in the state championship game.
Like 3. Mm-hmm.
3 years ago, and then last year, not this year, but last year, Gainesville was just a few points from beating. I think it was the Tucker in the final and getting into the almost. They might have got back. They might have got back another the next year with a completely different team.
Right.
And so, I think we probably don't have quite the dominant teams we had back in the 90s, but I do feel like there's several programs in the county that are very good, and I think that everybody else is trying to catch up with them. I think we have quality coaches in the county. I think the way the enrollment is changing the schools, that's going to be a little bit of a challenge, I guess, to figure out what works best for each program. But I feel like the last couple of years maybe we're down just a little bit, but I don't think it'll be long before we get back up to where we used to be.
Coach, do you think a lot of that being up and down is based on, so many new schools popping up in the county and the talent is kind of split? How much do you think they have to do with it? I have several thoughts. So,
one, I feel like in the younger age, the way the Park and Rec is structured, their programs, I feel like that has hurt the mass number of guys that are playing, even like the boys club. I can remember when the boys club, you go in the boys club and it would be like a who's who of Hall County basketball in there. I don't think that happens anymore. It may happen in another gym someplace, but I just don't think kids have that neighborhood gym type of mindset that they had when y'all were growing up. I mean, y'all can probably relate to it as well as any, because both of y'all grew up during that timetable. So I think that's hurt in some ways. Sometimes I think there's maybe too much emphasis on travel ball and things like that, where kids play more than instead of working on skills and getting better by working on fundamentals. I think you got to have a mix. But when you look at the number of schools, and the good thing is we've got 7 schools instead of 4 schools. Mm-hmm. I mean, if we were Gwinnett County with the size of Gwinnett County schools, we would have schools the size of Gwinnett County, but we'd only have 4 high schools. Right. The fact that Gainesville's a 7A school now. The rest of the county is pretty much trying to keep their numbers down, which allows more kids the opportunity to play. So I think that's a plus. It's just a matter of, I think, kids have an opportunity to play and get better, and for whatever reason, you can't beat hard work and just getting in there and working. And of course, y'all are in the gym working a lot with players, so what it takes. The question I would ask y'all, because y'all do a lot of training, how much do the kids work without y'all's presence? I think a lot of times kids think that if the coach is there, I'm going to work, but if the coach isn't there, I don't really have to work. Where now, because there's so many coaches and so many trainers now, that I think kids have the mentality, well, it's when I'm working with the coach that's important. Well, really, it's when they're in the backyard by themselves and doing all that one-on-one stuff individually, I don't know how much kids do that anymore. I think there's a lot more video games, a lot more things going on. They got more things to do. So I don't know how much they actually spend on their game by themselves working on developing their skills.
I think you make a great point about kids just understanding how important your skill set has to be in order for you to be a pretty good ball player. And then the second point, I mean, you talked about having that community place to come and play. The Boys and Girls Club was it for us, or even the Butler Center. That's what it was for us in that time. So now a lot of kids, they like you said, they'll train with a coach. But then sometimes it's about application. You got to be able to apply that skill. And we were able to compete. I mean, we would literally go to the Boys and Girls Club in the summer, and we would play all day long. And then we would leave and go to the Fast Street Park right up the hill. We'd play some over there. And then when it was time for summer basketball, we would walk to games high and we'd practice. And then, you know, we go home and do it all over again. So it was just a lot of opportunity to compete and apply what you kind of worked on, you know, individually. So, you know, I think you're right. It's a lot different than it was. And kids got a lot of different options that they're taking now. But it's very different, very different.
Yeah. Yeah, and Coach, one thing that I've been watching, I know Mario been watching too, The Last Dance. And, man, I learned so much from Michael Jordan, because the point that you just made, like a lot of kids, like they might come and train with me or whoever for an hour, and then they may not train again till they see me the next week or whenever they train with me again. But Michael Jordan made a great point, man. He was like, it's a price to pay to be great, to be good. And, you know, a lot of kids don't understand that. Like, a lot of kids feel like, if I go over here and train with so-and-so for an hour, one day a week, I'm going to be great. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be the next Allen Iverson, the next LeBron James. I want to go to Duke University. But it's not like that. That's not real life. So, like, these kids, especially around Hall County, because I'm around here a lot, you got to put in so much work when you're not with us. You know what I'm saying? You got to be at home playing basketball all the time. If not, you know, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So, like, I always tell kids, when you're not working out with me or whoever, you need to just do something with a basketball. Just do something. What do you tell kids, Coach? Like, I know you coached last year. You've been coaching for years. What was your thought on that?
Well, you know, the main thing I think kids have to understand is somebody's always out working you somewhere else. And I think, as you mentioned, a lot of kids think they put in a certain number of hours or a certain number of minutes, they're done and they're finished. I don't know how many players, because, you know, great players usually have goals they set for themselves, whether it's making 100 shots in a row or something that's kind of an unrealistic kind of goal, but they always have that goal they're trying to reach. I don't know how many of our players or how many of our kids now have those kind of goals in mind that they make themselves live up to before they stop trying to achieve it. And whether it's takes them 30 minutes or an hour and a half or 2 hours, or they come back the next day and do it again. I just don't think there's the focus. And when you do find some kid that has that focus, usually you find a really good basketball player. The trouble is there's not enough of them to have great basketball players, because, you know, you may have one good one, but you got to have several good ones to have a great one, because that's how you get better, is by playing against good people.
Coach, so you've basically been able to coach 4 decades. So if you had to choose which one, I guess, that you felt like was that you got the most out of from your start to your end, which one would you say was the most beneficial for you?
As far as me learning as a coach, or getting the most out of my players?
Getting the most out of your players.
You know, for whatever reason, Mario, I think I've been pretty blessed that players have usually bought into whatever we try to do, and I feel like because of that, we had success because they wanted to be overachievers. They wanted to be successful, and I don't think I can say it was better one decade versus another, because I think we've had that in all 4 decades where players want to be good, they want to be successful, and just like watching the Last Dance, all these kids that have watched that the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I guarantee you, we got a lot of kids in Hall County right now that are pumped up because they like to be like Michael Jordan, where that's their really first exposure to Michael Jordan, and seeing what he was able to do and what kind of player he was and how he changed the game. It's and I hope that we have. Well, I've got a grandson right now that he loves the game. He's one of those guys that I think has a chance.
He's good. Yeah.
To really be good. I mean, he's got that little something about him that I think he's got a chance to be. I'm really looking forward to watching him grow and develop. I'm excited for him and his family, and I'm excited for his grandmother and granddad too.
Yeah. Coach, he is like, and I've seen him at plenty of my camps. He's going to be an outstanding player. But, Coach, I got to say this. I used to hate playing against y'all when I was in high school because – I'm not saying like in a bad way, because like you had your team ready and prepared for every game. Like y'all brought the best out of me. Like me and Jarvis, like games on East Hall, we knew when we came in and play y'all was going to bring the best out of us. And like you was one of them coaches, you were just tough. I remember one game, Antoine and Mark Kaiser got into it. And most coaches, they would have had them boys just out there just playing and, disciplining them after the game. You set them boys out the whole game, and like you was willing to lose that game to teach them boys a lesson. And that's what I learned a lot that night when I saw that. I was like, man, you know what? This guy, he don't play around. Because a lot of people think it's just about winning. You about teaching them kids, and that's what I saw at an early age through you.
Coach, let me ask you a question too, because that leads into a question I have for you about who was your biggest challenge to coach in your coaching career? I've heard some Antoine Welter stories. I heard
the Cosby's
stories. Yeah, so I know you've had some dynamic guys to deal with. So, who was your biggest challenge?
I don't want to put any targets on anybody's back out there, but those guys you asked me about, who were some of my better players? Probably about 70% of those guys I named, I could probably say were a challenge in one way or another. I don't know why is that? Why is it like that sometimes? The athlete that might be the most gifted, the most talented, sometimes is the most challenging to get them to do what they can do. It happens like that.
I agree. I agree with you. I had a chance to be around some pretty good guys, and I can only say it was probably only one kid that didn't really kind of buck the system, and he bought in early, and it paid off. And that was JB. JB bought in early, and it paid off for him. He had his bumps in the road, but the majority of kids that were, like you said, high-level kids, I think it's just sometimes it comes so easy to them that they got to be challenged in a different way, opposed to other kids who really have to work hard to actually get what those kids who are very, very talented have. And that's one thing I noticed. You got to challenge those gifted kids sometime in a different way because it comes so easy. And, you got to be able to hit that switch, but I think that's like Adrian, I think that's one thing that I think I always been able to watch from a distance that you've done. And then when I had a chance to work with you, we had a couple of guys that you were able to find out how to tap right into that sweet spot and make them realize, okay, I got to do it this way. And if I do it this way, it's going to not only benefit me, but it's going to benefit the team.
I think one of the keys is those kids have to be coached.
Mhm.
I mean, I think there are a lot of times because a player is really good or really talented, sometimes coaches will back off and pretty much let that talented player kind of do what he wants to because he is so good, he is so talented, he's capable to do so many things. And I think as you mentioned, you got to kind of maybe coach them a little different, but at the same time, you have got to have something to do with what they're doing for your team, and sometimes you have to challenge them, and hopefully they respond in a positive way. Most of the time they will. Most of the time, I think if great players look back at their career, they can probably think of one or two times where somebody challenged them and made them better. And I think that's the purpose of a coach. I think you've got to be able to coach great players as well as you coach the players that aren't great.
Coach, oh, my bad. Go ahead.
As far as your response of where you hate to play East Hall or didn't look forward to playing East Hall, the one thing we try to do is make it tough on the good players.
Yep.
And of course you were as good as anybody we had to play against. So it was a challenge for us. I think most of the time we did pretty well against you, but at the same time, you're always a handful. And it was a real honor and a pleasure to coach against you because you're always tough.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that, Coach. But, Coach, this is the $1 million question. Why did you come back to coach East Hall? Like, what was the reason for you coming back coaching East Hall? Because I was one of the guys, and I'm pretty sure a lot of guys in the county was like, oh, man, please don't come back, Coach, man. Like, you're a legend. You're a GOAT. Like we just wanted to see you just be the Coach Vining, show up to the ball games when we talk. And then I got the news one day, Coach Vining is back at East Hall coaching. What made you come back, Coach?
Well, first
that
off,
wasn't a bad thing. That wasn't a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing.
Well, first off, I think I had spent like 23, 24 years at East Hall. I love the school. I love the community. I hated to see our program kind of go on a little dip in the road, so to speak. When I was presented the opportunity to come back, the way it was presented to me, I felt like that I could help maybe do some things to help the program. That's the main reason I came back. There wasn't a timeline established, whether it was going to be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It was just, we're going to just see what happens and go with it. At the time, some things needed to happen. And I think we did a lot of those things. I think the program's in a lot better shape now than it was. The administration at East Hall were just great. Jeff Cooper and Adam Rich supported me in everything I wanted to do. Our tip-off club is very supportive. Tony Campbell, who was the president, just did everything we wanted to do. I think we had a great staff. I was really excited about the coaches that I was working with. And I think potentially we had a team that could have been very good, but it just didn't work out. We struggled. The decision I made to leave in December, that was my decision only. I didn't even talk to my wife about it. Nobody knew about it but me. And I thought I was making a decision that was in the best interest of everybody involved, which included my family, included me, and included our coaching staff, and it included our players. I thought that by me stepping aside and turning it back over to Coach Thompson, I thought our team at the time needed a little shot in the arm. I thought that might give them the catalyst to rally around Coach Thompson. I had every aspiration of Coach Thompson being the next head coach, which we know now didn't turn out. But when I made that decision to step aside and retire again, I really thought it was the best decision for everybody. And as it turned out, it didn't work out exactly the way I wanted it to. But I thought I was doing what was best for the team and doing the best for myself and my family. So that was why I made the decision that I made. There's never anything other than trying to do something that was best for the team.
Coach, with that decision, dealing with today's athletes versus the kids, back in the day, what do you see as the difference in both athletes, today's athlete versus the kids in the old school?
As far as the difference, I don't really think there's that much difference, except maybe social media. I think social media changes everything.
In a good or a bad way?
It can be both. I think the thing that it bothers me more about social media is the kids seem like they want to be on it and have to be on it all the time, and I think that hurts just their development. You mentioned about challenging players that I've coached in the past. I've had challenging players from the very beginning, 30 years, 40 years ago, 50 years ago to now. So I don't think that has changed. I think social media has changed a lot of what kids do and expect what they expect. This past year, I lost a couple players, because they were not very coachable, and because of that, they parted ways from our program. And of course, that can happen anytime.
Right.
I don't think it has to be just associated with this year. But I think if kids respond or players respond to being coached, then I think the results can be very positive. And that's I think that's our job as a coach, is to try to reach those kids. As far as this past year's team, we were, I had all aspirations of winning the Learland, winning region, and going to the state tournament. We had some injuries that hurt us, but as it turned out, we did not have as good of basketball players as I thought we were going to have. When you look at our roster, I don't know the final stats, but I don't think we had one player that averaged 10 points. If you look at any quality basketball team, you will find usually 1, 2, maybe 3 kids that are averaging double figures. We had nobody averaging double figures. So I think when you look at the team that we had this year, that was part of our problem. We just did not have very skilled basketball players, and that's going to continue to be a challenge for next year's team. Players have got to get in the gym, they got to work, they got to get better, and if they do that, I think they'll have a chance to be successful next year. But I think a lot depends on what they do and how hard they work.
Coach, last thing I'm going to say, like I was talking about the Last Dance, like you said, a lot of these younger kids, they really didn't get to see Michael Jordan like we did. And the same goes for you. Like a lot of these younger kids, they didn't get to see what you was doing at East Hall back in the days. And like the guys that played against you, like me, myself, Mario, just everybody, like I understood what kind of coach you were. And I feel like some of the players at East Hall this past season, they didn't realize what type of coach they was getting. And I mean, like you said, sometimes it don't work out. I mean, I know what type of coach you are. I mean, you're a legend around here. You highly respected. I wish things would have been better, but you can only control what you can control. But you went out there, you gave it your best. So, Coach, you have nothing to be worried about. I mean, from my understanding, from what I saw from you when I was playing, and even after I stopped playing and just kept coming around and watching you coach, like, man, you one of them coaches I would have loved to play for. So I wish I could have played for you in high school, but I had a good coach, Coach Steve Pettit. So, but I wish I could have played for you too, man.
Well, I'll just say, it's been a pleasure to work with you, Coach. A pleasure to watch you from a distance. All of the years that I played, and then also getting into coaching. I still wish we could have got that game back in games with college. What was it, '93? But if you got to go out, you got to go out. We'll go out to East Hall. But like I said, it's been a pleasure. You had a coaching career that many can only dream of. So salute to you, Coach. Everybody understands and respect what you've done for the game, and especially for Howard County as a whole. So we appreciate you, Coach, and we wish you and Miss Vining all the best.
Yes.
Well, let me just say, I appreciate what both of y'all are doing for high school basketball. I mean, what y'all have done with the All-Star game, what you've done to bring exposure to the kids. We have been missing something like that ever since I've been in Gainesville. Y'all just do a great job. I appreciate all you do. Keep up what you're doing. Keep up the good work. Mario, I have to get down and watch y'all play next year. I know y'all had a good run there at the end. So
yeah, it got fun on the second half of the season. It was a lot different. So well,
that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
The journey to get there is a lot better than once you get there. So
right.
Enjoy the journey.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Coach. We appreciate your time, man.
All right, thank y'all.
Appreciate you, Coach.